explain something.
In this episode, I'm talking about using paid advertising to grow your podcast. And that means spending money to advertise your show in various places online and within podcast listening apps. Now, I know what you're thinking. Paid advertising. Well, I don't want to pay anything to grow my podcast. I'm doing an organic approach. And I think organic growth is great. And honestly, it's probably best. But organic growth takes a long time, a lot of time and effort before you really start to reap the benefits of it. But if you want to expedite or accelerate any of that growth, I recommend incorporating a little bit, at least a few dollars on a paid podcast advertising strategy. Just here's a little bit of numbers. So I host on Libsyn, and in October of 2022, which as of recording this is 4 months ago, that's when I started a paid advertising strategy to grow this show. And I've increased my 30-day downloads by 65%. If you're looking to scale your podcast like a business, I'm going to give you 6 places that you can use a paid marketing approach to grow your podcast. And we're not going to be talking about Google ads, paid advertising via Google, or paid social media advertising. I think you're going to get less than desired results with that, because you want to really target this stuff to like the podcasting ecosystem. Google and social, you probably will get some results, but the best place to connect with other podcasters and potential listeners is within podcasting ecosystems, newsletters, apps, websites, etc. And so that's what I'm going to be doing today. Let's get into it. Okay, so there's a few ways to use paid promotion for your podcast. There's audio ads, like an ad that you actually record as a promo for your show. There's display ads within podcasting listening apps, within podcast players. And then there's written ads either on the web or within newsletters. I'm going to cover several of these. And the first one I want to talk about is using Buzzsprout Ads. So Buzzsprout is a podcast hosting platform, but they also have this, I don't know how new it is. I think it's fairly new, this new program called Buzzsprout Ads. Buzzsprout Ads is essentially a place where you can record a promo for your show, and Buzzsprout will insert that in other targeted podcasts in your category. So when I say a promo for your show, it could be something like, "What up, Cliptos? You're listening to Clipped. This is a podcast where I teach you X, Y, and Z," or "This is a podcast about X and Y where I show you how X and Y is going to get you Z results." That's a formula I use. But essentially, it's a recorded promo that you and or your co-host record to promote your show. All you really need to get started is you're going to need to write a description of your show. You can use the one that's on Apple. And then record a promo. The rules for the promo is that it has to be between 12 and 40 seconds. Then you're going to upload it into their system, and you're going to choose the demographics you want to target. And then you're going to choose how many times you want the ad to be heard. And so they have a system where you pay per download. The starting price is $100 for 5,000 downloads. And then it goes all the way up to, checking my notes here, 50,000 downloads for $1,000. And then there's everything in between. So whatever your budget is, how many times you want that ad to be heard, you can set that up within Buzzsprout. This is cool if you are someone who thinks that people will respond well to hearing your ad within another show that's in a similar niche in your category. I've personally used Buzzsprout, and I've had good results with it. It seems that the subscriptions I got or the followers I've got have stuck with me. So Buzzsprout is one that I can personally vouch for. It's a good system. However, if you don't want to actually like record an ad, to write it out, edit it, mix it, master it, it may not be for you. But if you're someone who thinks your potential audience will respond better to that, Buzzsprout is a great option. The next thing I'm going to be talking about is display ads. And so, the place that I think is the best to do this and that I've personally used is Overcast.fm. So Overcast.fm is a podcast listening app. Think of it like an Apple, a Spotify, a Stitcher. It's available on iPhone only. So Android users, sorry, you're out of luck, but stay tuned. I've got one for you in just a moment. And Overcast is popular. I'd say really diehard people listen to podcasts on Overcast. So it's a great opportunity to advertise because there are enough people that your ROI from using and advertising an Overcast is going to be worth it. And essentially, these are display ads. So when people are listening to your show, so when people are listening to a show that's similar to yours, a visual ad for your podcast is going to pop up in the app. That's known as a display ad. And when setting this up, you're going to select the category that you want to advertise in. It's going to mirror Apple Podcast categories. So like education, true crime, arts and entertainment, whatever category your show falls into, that's the category you would select. Once you select the category, it's going to show you the cost to advertise in that category. And all these ads run for 30 days. That's the standard campaign time within Overcast. And for what you're paying, it's going to show you the estimated people that will click on your ad and the estimated subscription or followers you're going to get for spending that money. They can estimate how many people are going to click on your ad and how many people from that are actually going to sign up as subscribers. It can get pricey though. I've seen less competitive categories start at like $130 to $150 a month. And then it goes up from there. I've seen categories like I've advertised my show in education. I think I paid in the $400 range. And it even goes up more than that to over $1,000 per category. I've seen like business is really competitive. It's more expensive. Education is a competitive category. I've had really good success from this as well. I've seen that after I, purchase an ad and run it for a few weeks, my listenership and downloads have definitely gone up. And so I like Overcast. I recommend it. I think the display feature is cool. And that's good if you don't want to like record an actual promo and have to edit and mix that. A little bit easier to set up, a little bit more expensive, but I will say I think you're going to get a better ROI than with Buzzsprout. Seems that Overcast is a little bit better at targeting, whereas with Buzzsprout, which I mentioned before, it's going to show you the podcast that your ad played in. And I'm in education, but that's really broad. And so my ad is played like in some history shows. History it could be its own category, but kind of talking and teaching about history falls into education. And so I think Overcast is a little bit better at targeting. The next is Podcast Addict. And for you Android users, this is only available on Android. Functions very similarly to Overcast.fm with a display model. You're going to pay for your category and you're going to see the estimated clicks and subscriptions that you'll get. I personally haven't used Podcast Addict, but it seems to be cheaper and it seems to estimate a higher number of estimated clicks and estimated subscribers that you'll get for purchasing an ad. Here's just a little comparison for you. At the time of recording this, to purchase a 30-day display ad within Overcast.fm in the education category, that's what my show is under. So that's what I'm going with. It's going to cost $500. Estimated performance is 650 to 1,000 clicks on that ad. And estimated subscriptions are going to be 30 to 45 people. Just as a comparison, to buy a 30-day display ad for education in Podcast Addict, it's going to cost you $275, estimated 1,250 clicks to 1,650 clicks, estimated subscriptions 25 to 140. I don't know why it's cheaper, and I don't know why the estimated clicks and subscriptions from your ad are higher. Maybe because it's within an Android operating system. I don't know, but that's two differences in the cost of purchasing ads. The next is Pocket Cast. Pocket Cast is also a listening app for Android and iPhone. They only have one option and it's really expensive. They will display your podcast basically on their homepage. It's called the Discover section. When you open the app, that's the first thing that pops up. And it's going to cost $1,700 and the ad's going to run for 1 week. So that's at the time of recording this, $1,700 to run a 1 week display ad. That's going to pop up in the Discover section, which is essentially like the homepage of the app right when you open it. And they're touting that this ad will get 350,000 unique views in that week. So that's a lot of views. I don't know. They don't say how many people will click on it. the estimation of that or the estimated people that will then follow and or subscribe to the podcast. A good conversion rate could be between 3 and 5%. At least that's what I've been told in like the email marketing and affiliate world. Don't know if that's the same for podcasters. So with Pocket Cast, you're going to be the only one featured. And so they don't have like several displays of podcasts. When you buy that 1 week spot, that's it for 1 week. So cool option, expensive, maybe worth it. I don't know. Maybe in the future, I will check that out. But no doubt it is going to be seen by a lot of people. The last is Podnews, and podnews.net is the website. If you're not familiar with Podnews, you should be. It's a weekly newsletter that goes out highlighting everything happening in the podcast world. They talk about what's happening in the industry, new shows that are on the market. They post jobs as well. It's a really great resource. James is the name of the guy who runs it. He's he's very well respected in the space. And he's kind of on the forefront of everything happening. And within Podnews, you can actually buy written classified ads in the newsletter. And I've done this, and they start as low as $29. They can go up to over $100. Depends on the day that you purchase, how far in advance you purchase, and how, I think if other people have already bought slots and kind of like the slots are filling up, so the demand's higher, that also affects the cost, I believe. I just want to give you some of the data on the ads that I've purchased within Podnews. I think out of all these, honestly, Podnews I've had the most success with. So I have bought a total of 4 ads starting December 1st, December 6th, December 7th, January 11th, and January 12th. And my ad has been seen a total of 105,373 times. The ad, out of all these, the ad has been clicked on 417 times. The average number of people who saw it in email per day was 8,629, with a click-through rate of 4.83%. So not to bore you with all this stuff, but I've had a lot of success. On days that I advertise, I'll check my analytics, and sometimes the downloads for that day will have doubled. Sometimes a couple days in a row, they'll have doubled and or been up by like 50%. Podnews is a great place to advertise. You just write like a little classified ad. I can read mine here. Listen to Clipped, a podcast teaching podcasting. Clipped brings you podcast production tips, education, and industry resources to help you navigate the podcast industry. Supercharge your podcast listening skills by listening to Clipped every Wednesday. And since I've had a lot of success with this ad, I'm definitely going to be buying slots in the future. If you're really interested in growing your podcast, this is a great resource. You need to be crushing it with the organic growth, and then you need to pepper in some paid growth. And I think that's kind of my philosophy, and that's what I tell clients that have the financial resources to do this. Let's face it, we're all trying to get people's attention online. Every company, every individual, whether it's your podcast, social, YouTube, attention is the new currency, and it's easier to get that attention and to get in front of those people if you have a little bit of a budget. I don't know how the algorithms work, but it's difficult to get discovered with your podcast. It's difficult to get discovered really on any of the online platforms. And so if you have a little bit of money and you can kind of bump that up to increase the odds of your show getting seen and your brand being heard and your message being heard, I think it's definitely worthwhile. So that's what I want to do with this interview. Oh, and I think that's what I want to do with this podcast. And I think I told you 6 places online. I realized that was only 5. So that was 5 places online where you can use paid advertising to grow your podcast. That's Buzzsprout, Overcast FM, Podcast Addict, Pocket Cast, and Podnews. My favorite is Podnews, probably then followed by Overcast and Buzzsprout. But yeah, guys, thank you for rocking with me on this episode. If you want to connect, if you have questions, if you want to know more about my company and the production services we offer, shoot me an email. It's info@thepodcasthaven, and I'm happy to connect with you, happy to do a discovery call. So you can learn a little bit about me, and I can try to help you with your podcasting problems, because I want you all to start to realize that growth and monetization is possible. But first, we got to get those numbers up and get our podcast out in front of our ideal listener with the least amount of resources. And paid advertising is going to help you do that. Thanks, guys. I'm out.